topic today, but I'm also going to do free readings so we can talk about you. You know, we spend our whole life trying to figure out who we are. And we do that while we're interacting in relationship with other people. And the way that we do that is usually through trial and error, misunderstandings, hardships, pain, hurt, etc. What if I told you that you could get to know who you are in just a few minutes? Not a lifetime, not a whole lot of pain, just know exactly who you are in just a few minutes. So come on board and we will take a look at your chart and I can show you. So the first thing is I have a question here. I've got a question here, and it is from Susan. And Susan wants to know what has happened between her and her long-time boyfriend. Basically, like married. They've been together for 18 years, and they're right on the brink of breaking up because she doesn't understand what's going on with him. So, Susan, I got your back. Okay. I took a look at your chart. Hi, Pamela. And so we're talking about know thyself, Pamela. And we were talking about how it can take an entire lifetime to get to know who you are through trial and error, usually through challenging relationships. Starts off with our parents in most cases, then our schoolmates, coworkers, and interpersonal relationships. And then if you're blessed to be a parent, it happens through parenthood as well. But what if I could tell you in 10 minutes exactly who you are? So we're going to take a look at Susan's chart. Now, a lot of times when people ask me about their partner, I don't go straight to the partner's chart and see what's wrong with them. I take a look at your chart and say, what's going on with you right now? And who are you in a close relationship? What are the challenges that you have? And what are you looking for ease of flow to make your life easier? And we don't go into relationships going, you know what? I really want to meet someone who's going to just screw me right up, force me to internalize the essence of who I am until I'm inside out and I come out of the other side a completely different version than who I was when I got in. No, we don't go into relationships like that. We go into relationships thinking, accepting, expecting that it's going to better our lives, that we're going to be better, we're going to be more loving, we're going to just have all these things that we desire. We're going to feel good about ourselves. They're going to make us feel good about who we are, etc. But that comes with a bit of a price. So I'm going to take a look at Susan's chart because she wants to know why her and Matt are having difficulty after 18 years of being together. Now, looking at her birth date, looking at her birth year, most likely her and Matt have been together since they were a teenager. And yes, Matt is definitely going through what is called it's sort of a dark night of the soul in a way, but it's a very, very, very beginning, very, very beginning of what is called a midlife crisis, but we call it a Uranus opposition. Midlife crisis isn't what they used to be because we're really not midlife at 40 or 39 to 40 when it's where they start. But I want to look at Susan's chart. You see, Susan is somebody who's extremely independent. She's freedom orientated and she focuses on career. And that is an Aries, Capricorn, Sagittarius energy. Now, with this Aquarius, Capricorn, Sagittarius energy, she needs to have freedom and space to be able to be independent and usually it is around her work environment. And this is where she feels that she gets most of her satisfaction and her gratification and her self-worth is through her work. She also, with that, needs a partner who gives her her freedom to do that. Doesn't question everything she does. Isn't needy. Isn't someone that challenges her, forces her to be somebody different. And Matt has definitely done that for her. Except he's going through a phase where, and that's because he's very accommodating. He's got very strong Libra, Virgo, Scorpio energy. So he's always been enthralled and enchanted by her. He's always been that solid rock who's extremely accommodating. But he's going through a Uranus square Mercury, which is also in Libra, which means he's starting to think, he's starting to think like, who am I? Maybe I don't want to accommodate you. Maybe I don't want to go to that party. Maybe I would like you to be home at a certain time. Maybe I just don't want to watch that movie or go to that restaurant. So suddenly he's saying no, where he never said no before. So, Susan, I'm going to tell you, be proud of Matt for speaking his truth and speaking his mind, because he's always been uber accommodating, so easygoing that it's probably got on your nerves at times, because you're the one that's always making the decisions and making the choices, and he doesn't really step up to the plate that way. So now, after he gets through this cycle, and he's got about a year left of this, April 2025, he will, Pamela, if you've got any questions, feel free about knowing thyself. He will start to speak his truth and what he wants and what's important to him. But this is going to be a rough 2024, because he's like a kid just learning how to walk. He's going to stumble. He's going to fumble. He's going to fake it till he makes it. He doesn't even know what he's going through. So he's going to think that it's you or the boss or the neighbor. But really, it's him starting to speak his truth. As mothering and coddling as this may seem, what you want to do is just say to him, you know what, hon, I'm glad that you're saying that you don't want to go to that restaurant. Good. Where do you want to go? Rather than saying, what do you mean you don't want to go to the restaurant? You always like that restaurant. That's the best restaurant we always go to. Rather than saying that, say, oh, okay, this is new. Where would you like to go? And he probably won't know, because that's what he's learning. He may be just learning what he like. I don't know what I like. Okay, let's just go to that restaurant. And then say, okay, well, we'll go, but let's talk about other restaurants. Let's go to somewhere different next time. Let's talk about what we could do during dinner. Okay. And I've worked with Susan before. So this approach, because he is not one to step up to the plate, this approach of giving him choice has really worked for them to communicate. And her impatience, that's that Sag energy, right? And that Capricorn, I'm impatient. I'm going to take control. We're just going to go to this restaurant. It's sort of like squashes him every once in a while, and doesn't give really him the freedom to be him, to be himself. And he doesn't take it either. So sometimes we just have to give people a little bit of a leeway to allow them to show up. You know, kind of have to push them onto the stage. So Pamela says that she feels that as though I have been through a 5-year cycle of growth and lessons. Is that possible? Absolutely. So if you are brave enough to put your birth date on there, I don't think it's going to like this will end up. I don't know if it's going to show permanently, but anyways, if you're okay to put your birth date on there and your birth year, I'm going to have to know that. Hi, Rebecca. Then I can definitely take a look at what have you been through. Now, usually 5 years astrologically is there's 1 or 2 things happening, one after the other after the other. Okay, so October 10th, and I know what the year is, even though you have a little bit of a blip there in the a typo. Okay, so let's take a look at. Now, this is someone definitely you have been going through. If you know your time of birth as well, Pamela, that could be helpful. um, age is just a number, Rebecca. And Pamela is probably one of, thank you, 615, one of the most youthful souls in human form, fun that I have ever seen, but also deep and very serious and probing. And probing is good because she does that through her self awareness. Yes, she does. So, have you guys met, Rebecca? I know you're going to meet soon because we're all going to the same place soon. Okay. So Pamela says she's been. I just did a podcast with one of my clients, Jackie, who's a therapist, and we talked about the dark night of the soul. And I know that Pam watched that, and it was very helpful for her. So you can find that on my YouTube channel. Now I'm doing a cross between Vedic and Western astrology. So this is going to be a little bit new for Pam because she has worked with me before. So I'm going to take a look at that. Now, right away, I can see it. And the one was a year, which just passed. And that had to do with your home, taking a look at your childhood in the past year. There's some previous to that too, so hang on. Taking a look at your home. What is going on emotionally? What are you, see, one of your value systems emotionally, which means on a day-to-day basis, you need to be loyal. You need to show people for you to feel good on a day-to-day basis, you want to be loyal. You want to make money, you want to make finances, and you want to be, very fair to other people. But mostly you want to show your loyalty. So what that means is that you'll stay in positions in life a lot longer than most people because you bring to the relationship, whether it's a job or an actual person, your loyalty, your dedication, you're steadfast. I'm not going anywhere. I got your back. That's who you are. And so, what has happened in the last year, and I'm going to take a look at a cycle that just ended, is you've decided, really just in December of 2023, you decided that I can't be loyal to this situation. It seemed like it was a structure or a system or a person that really didn't give you a lot of creative freedom. Because what came out of this and that ability, because you thought you were going to be in a position where you're going to be helping, healing, maybe a bit esoteric, supportive in that way. But it didn't turn out to be that way in the last year. Now, remote viewing wise, I'm witnessing that this particular person is also going through a dark night of the soul. So kind of a, two people with broken arms can't really help each other. Two people drowning can't really save each other. Now, more of a boisterous personality, though. Not that this is shown on the outside, but working with this person is controlling. So the freedom from that, I want to tell, it has nothing to do with whether you're loyal or not, because that's innate in your personality. But this is opening up new doors, which is going to begin in, let me see here, 7. Yeah, so this in April of 2024, this is going to open up new doors, but these are doors that you're going to open up. Now, this is about a year and a half cycle. So you may wait to the very end because you're loyal. And the year before that, so that's an opportunity for you to start your own business. Okay. So some people will contract themselves out, consult themselves out, just be and temporary. Because you want to have the ability to say no. Now, you've got a lot of Libra in your chart. And so the year and a half prior to that was your time frame of learning to say no, which means people took advantage of you. They walked all over you. They took advantage of your friendliness and your people-pleasing part of you. And so this also happened let me see here. This happened in the house of 22. Oh, and then prior to that, you had about a year break, and then you went through the same people-pleasing thing as well. And really you're a behind the scenes person that really wants to support the entertainment industry. I already know that. The entertainment industry is where you're always gravitating towards. Now, with someone like yourself, and this stems from relationship with mother, so this is what you healed in the last past. Now, this is last year. This is not blame or shame. This is about mom. I was born to my mom to learn a very important lesson that I have to be loyal to my own psyche. I have to be loyal to myself. I have to have value. I have to value myself. And the more that I look for outside validation, the more I'm unhappy. Now, that sounds like that's fitting for everybody, but this is your particular lesson that you're learning from mom. Okay. And taking a look at the silent manipulation that happens, that people take advantage of people like yourself. You got to be very, very careful of that. Now, so you're at that other cycle of the I'm no longer a people pleaser. That ended last year as well. So you're on your way to a much better place financially, happier in your home, and not as much people pleasing. I hope. Otherwise, you're going to go through this some other lifetime, not in this lifetime. And people pleasing means that you don't say yes. You never say yes, Pamela. Never say yes. Okay? Um, everybody loves Pamela. We love Pamela. So I don't know if this is resonating with you, Pam, if you can give feedback. But what's going to happen is, how do you never say no? This is for all people pleasers out there. How do you never say no? Let's give an example. Somebody asks you to go out, grab a cup of coffee because you're running out on a lunch break. And what you do is you repeat yourself. You just say, hey, Pamela says, yes, it is. You just say, did you ask for a cup of coffee? And they said, yeah. And you know what they said. You're just buying yourself some time. And then you say, you know what? I'd love to, but I'm going to the pharmacy. I'm probably not going to have time. Now, that's too many excuses, really. I'd like you to get to the place where you say, I'd love to, but I can't. I'm in a real rush. Okay. They might think, biatch, because, they're thinking nobody cares about me. Nobody does anything about me. And that's their story. But if you want to give them a story that you can't do it, you just say, I'm in a rush. I'm going to the pharmacy. I have no idea how long that's going to take. And I'm not even going near a Starbucks. Okay. This is your no. That's your quick one. For the long-term one, when somebody says, hey, can you take over this job next week because Betsy's not going to be there? Then what you say is, can I let you know tomorrow? Can I let you know later today? Can I let you know before the day's over? If your daughter says, can you take care of this for me, mom? Say, you know what? Let me get back to you. Or you just don't answer. Nowadays with texting, we just don't answer right away. So you have time to think about it. This new texting is really great for the people pleasing because people have time to not this knee-jerk reaction to say yes to everything. So that's your dark night of the soul that you've been learning for the 5. Because where do you get your sense of self-worth? And where do you get your sense of people feeling like you're likable? Because that's really why we're people pleasing, is because we don't feel like we're likable, and we need proof from other people that we're likable. I'm a likable person. And the way that we know that is by, if we people please and we get the reaction that we would like, and we get Rebecca, like, I loved her instantly. And that's the interesting thing, Rebecca. People that feel unlikable or unlovable, no matter how much people say, I love you, you do so much for me, it just doesn't sink in. It just bounces right off. Right. I've got a little bit of that too. So there's a humbling around that, which is great. We're not like, I know, which sometimes isn't a bad thing because you got to know what your worth is. Okay. So if it helps at all, Pam, that cycle is over as we speak. Yep. Just double checking. Now, Jupiter is going to hit it in April. So you may have one end of May first few days of April. So you may have one last chance to say to somebody, you're out of here. I'm not doing this either. Okay. And so hopefully that's praise the Lord. So hopefully that helps you understand why you went through. It was a recalibration of your soul. So your soul does want to serve others. It wants to create harmony and balance with others, Pam. That's your soul. But what happens when we become in human form and we need human interaction to get that validation that we're lovable or we're likable, we tend to try to steal that from as many people as possible. People that could care less if you please them, people that could care less whether you serve them or not. You know, we kind of steal it, if that makes sense, from other people. They're not asking you for help. They're not asking you for support. They're not asking you to create some kind of balanced in their imbalanced life. So that's where we got to be careful. It's like problem solvers. I'm an amazing problem solver. I got to be very careful. And I make this mistake all the frickin' time. And when people talk to me, that I don't put on my coaching cap, my astrology cap, and go, oh, I can solve that for you. Because maybe that's not what they want. They didn't ask me, hey, Holly, can you solve this problem for me? They didn't ask me. So why am I giving that advice? Silence sometimes is golden. Definitely golden. So I'm just going to go down the 5 keys of what you want to do. You're always grateful. Yeah. And that's the thing, you know, I'm following this guy named, he's my latest craze of influencers that I follow, and it's Aaron Abke, ABKE. And he talks about the channeling in the 1980s of the law of one, Ra, of the law of one. Very, very, so much validation going on with me when I hear that, his words that he speaks of. And there's religion, there's God, there's Jesus, all this in it as well, which is a bit foreign for me. I shouldn't say foreign because I was raised that way, but it is foreign for me to conceptualize. However, I'm starting to look at God as a completely different meaning. We're all fragments of the one, which is, as they would say, a God, right? We're all fragments, so we're all pieces of God. So we are all creators, and that's what we're here to do, is create. But one of the things that he had said is that conceptualizing it, understanding the presentation of I'm grateful, right? Saying I'm grateful, saying I am humble, saying I'm here to serve is completely different than embodying it. And one of the latest ones that he was talking about is that we can have moments of embodiment. And Pam, you probably went through this. I know I've been through it, where we have moments of bliss and we have moments of embodying exactly knowing who we are and how we're supposed to present ourselves and create in the world. And everything just goes so smoothly. Could be hours, could be days, could be weeks. And we think like, this is it. I've reached enlightenment. I've been working so hard for this. Finally. And then you lose it. Something happens, shit hits the fan, and suddenly you're like, oh, good feeling gone. That's my famous thing. It's from Nemo. Good feeling gone. And the first time that happens, and I don't know if that's happened to you, Pam, in the last 5 years, it's devastating. And the reason it's devastating is because we get that moment of bliss. We now know what it feels like. We know what it feels like. So we want it again. And then so we sit. We can go even deeper in depression. We can go deeper into anxiety. And it feels uncomfortable. A lot of people will get this when they go to seminars, such as the Joe Dispenza ones, or the Tony Robbins, because there's so much hype and everyone's connected and everyone's there for the same reason. And he programs it so that everyone gets elevated, their oxytocin, which is connection. Oxytocin is bonding and connection. So they get that. Their dopamine. So that's one of your happy, I'm in love, so they're in love with the whole energy. They're in love with themselves. They're in love with Joe Dispenza. And then all of a sudden, you're great at the seminar, and then you go back to home to your screaming kids and your dog that nobody walks, and that you've got to change the diaper of your newborn, and your husband comes home late and forgot to pick up the carrots, and then crash and burn, right? Good feeling gone. So our goal is that we can maintain this internal bliss no matter what. Now, I'm going to give you guys a wake-up call that's probably going to be hard to accept. I don't know, but I could pretty much bet on it that this eternal bliss, I am not going to accomplish that in this lifetime. I'm not. You pretty much have to be clean throughout. So body, mind, and soul. So body, clean. You eat clean. You eat as natural by nature as possible. Local. You don't drink. You don't smoke. I mean, never. Okay. Now, if you went like a few times a year and you had a few drinks, but you wouldn't want to, because you'd be like, why? Because now I'm going to go back. My body's going to take like 6 weeks to get out of healing. So I'm not there. And meditation is very, very powerful. And you can't be attached to any desire. So if you're not attached to desire, all of that's easy, because you don't desire the alcohol. You don't desire the food. Food is just a means of making sure my body still stays alive. Fueled, basically. It's just fuel. You don't desire people to like you. You don't desire to like or love be attracted to other people. You desire nothing. You don't even desire to live. If tomorrow was your last day, you'd be like, well, that was a fun ride. Let's go. Right? That's Buddhism. That's true Buddhism. And that is true. And that's what they're always practicing too, because they haven't arrived there yet. But because I believe in past lives, I know that's not my first rodeo. And that if I just do a little bit every lifetime, one of these lifetimes, I'll get there. In this lifetime, it's conceptualizing it. It's knowing that this is a reality. This is attainable. This is something that I can achieve at some point in my soul's existence. This I know without a doubt. There's nothing you can tell me otherwise to change my mind about that. And a lot of people aren't even there, not even at that point. Also, learning not to be attached is what I'm currently leaning to do in all areas of my life. In areas of my life is what I'm currently working on. Then you would probably also like Aaron Abke. Good looking dude too. AARA, and I'm way not in my field. And plus, I'm married. Thank you very much. But easy on the eyes, no matter what side you like. But he is brilliant. He comes from a very strict Catholic, I think it's even Orthodox, very strict religion, Christian anyways, very strict. And even his dad was a pastor, and he became a pastor. And I know you do, Rebecca. And he's definitely a pretty boy. So after a year of being a pastor, he realized that this didn't give him happiness. And then he became this bodybuilder, and he was competing, and he worked for Google. Like, he was a personal coach, worked for Google, and the employees there still not happy. So he's got a few. I was watching one this morning, and his story is like everybody else's story. He had that moment of bliss. I literally replayed that like a few times, and even clipped it and shared it on Facebook, because I was like, that's me. I've hit those moments of bliss and then down. So I grew up an evangelistic Christian. So religion, orthodox, dogmatic religion, specifically depending on how it was presented, will definitely make many of us challenge what our personal belief system and what our personal philosophy is. And the reason it's challenging it, for good reason, you almost want to have a very dogmatic, strict religion because you want something to force you to think for yourself. What is your belief system? What is your philosophy? What do you live by at the moment? Because every single moment we're going to change what our philosophy and belief system is. So for Pamela, one of her belief systems, she's loyal to her loyalty. Her belief system is to be a loyal person. I've been the hugest challenge. It's been the hugest challenge in aligning my belief in what I was raised in. Yeah, because you were programmed. So I came up with, I'm writing I think, I'm starting to write a book called, I think I'm going to call it the Book of Wisdom, if there isn't one out there already. But that's what I'm titling it for me to keep my notes in, Book of Wisdom. So whenever I come up with this bing, aha moment, channel it in, download it, whatever you want to call it. So yesterday I got this image of, imagine, because we're all fragmented pieces of the whole. So why do we come here and we can't connect? We can't connect with one another. We all feel lost. We're fumbling. We're being people pleasers. We're doing everything to try to create some kind of bond, some kind of connection, which is going to raise our oxytocin. So if we come from this one source, then why do we come here and then we're like dispersed? And no matter what we do, we can't see. We can't connect on so many levels, political. And since COVID, that definitely showed how disconnected we are and how we don't really have each other's back, and how we do, but more of a they're wrong, we're right kind of which is, no, we're both right and we're both can be wrong, right? So why? So with the visual I get, I made that a really long intro. I apologize. But the visual I got was a piece of the puzzle. So I want you to imagine you've got all these puzzle pieces and they've been weathered. Okay, they've been out in the sun, they've been out in the rain, they shrank, they expanded. And now, because of the weathering and the time lapse that these pieces have been apart from each other, because if they were together, they would stay together. They would just all expand and contract and get warped together, right? But imagine they're all individual. Now try to put them together. You won't be able to put them together. They won't fit. And if you maybe you could force one or two to fit, but try to put them all together, it's not going to work. So there is this. So what I called that was we had been, oh, now I got to look for it because it just came to me. It was so beautiful how it came. And I posted it on my Facebook, actually. So what happened is we became detached, but we also became deformed. So not deformed. I don't want you to look at it that. We became deformed. We came out of form. Okay, so that's what happens to us when we're human. Our soul is not deformed. Our human becomes programmed and it becomes out of form, becomes deformed. So what is the answer to it? Do we reform? So do we reform, which means we form into our collective tribe, such as your religion, such as your people pleasing your family? Do we reform? Or do we reform, which means we reform ourselves to not worry about fitting in to that big picture? Or do we repair? Now, repair, right? Repair, that means we pair up somewhere else. We pair up, right? Or do we just decide that we don't fit in at all? We stand alone and we just be. This is what it's like to be human. Collectively, we're not playing together very well. So we're coming here and we're becoming deformed, right? I love that. Yeah. So reform and repair. I'm trying to unprogram 20 years of dogma, religious mindset that wasn't mine, but my parents' belief. So think about this one. This is the one that a lot of people don't want to hear is you chose your parents. Okay. You chose them. Whether you did it, I can go into detail, but I won't, but you did it karmically, which means it's choices that you made together in other lifetimes. Karmically, because you've decided, I want to learn this really hard lesson. So I'm going to choose, uh, I want to learn a lesson about addiction and what it's like to be out of control with addiction and how I can gain the strength of gaining my control back by losing my control because of addiction. So I'm going to birth myself to an alcoholic parent that's completely out of control and destroys my childhood so that I learn this lesson. You think about it like boot camp. You watch those people that are in they go to the Olympics and or they go into mud wrestling or the brutality that they put their bodies through to get to be able to go into the Olympics. It's heart-wrenching on their bodies. It's taxing on their bodies. It's taxing on their psychology at some point, depending. Specifically, if you're in it to win it, it can be taxing on your relationship. I mean, it's brutal. It's hard work. So if you think about that, you'd think, why would somebody want to do that? Why would they put themselves through that? Because they want to be in the Olympics. So you think about your life is like the Olympics. You want to get to the Olympics. So that's why you put yourself through such a tragic, difficult, challenging life. But that doesn't take away the pain. Okay. The pain is part of the process. Think about that one. That just came to me now. The pain is a very important part of the process. It's the part that makes you process. Right? Think about processing. Think about processed meat, right? You got to chew it all up and you got to put it all back together again so it creates something. That's probably a bad analogy, but you got to process it and you won't process it without the pain. So that's part of the process. Now, how long that pain lasts, it depends on how long you stay in victimhood, which means you're a victim of your circumstance. You didn't create this, you're a victim, and everything and everyone is against you. And the longer you stay there, the longer it's going to take you. Now, just like the 12-step program, and you can apply the 12-step program with everything and anything. Gabor Mate talks a lot about that. He's a psychologist based out of Vancouver. He talks about addictions and suffering and OCD. A lot of things are addictions. We all have addictions. Anything that soothes us and comforts us when we're in pain is an addiction. So when we allow ourselves to be in that victimhood, then we can get stuck. But once you're 50%, so once you are aware, oh, look at me being a victim again. Look at me feeling sorry for myself again. Look at me crying the blues because somebody doesn't like me again. If you're aware of that, you're more than halfway to the finish line. I just saw a quote and I had to look it up because I was like, what the heck does that mean? But that's exactly what it meant. I also put that on Facebook, that quote. I should find it and put it in my book of wisdom and make sure I quote who wrote that. But it was basically that idea. So don't beat yourself up. Like a lot of my clients will go, why do I do this? I mean, I complain, I bitch at my kids, even though I know it's wrong. I get mad at my husband, even though I know it's bad for me to do that. I'm still challenged by my childhood, even though that's not who I am. I know that's not who I am. Why do I do that? Because you're a starseed, because you are an advanced soul and you are self-aware. So you're like two different people. Your soul is able to witness your human self learning, basically learning. You think if you work in a situation or you're a parent where you see somebody learning, do you beat them up because they're learning? How dare you not know how to tie your shoes? What do you mean you can't? You don't know what 2 plus 2 is? What do you mean you're learning the new program at work? What's wrong with you? How come you don't always already have that down pat? No, you're going to you're going to see them get frustrated. You're going to see them try hard, or you're going to see them give up. And you're going to win. Specifically, we do this with children, and we'll do this with animals. We're going to look at them with full understanding and compassion of the innocence of them going through the learning curve. So we got to do that for ourselves. We go through learning curves. It's a curveball sometimes. Yes, blessed to be self-aware, but still have to process the pain and the lessons. Absolutely. And I want to give you a little bit of a secret before I wrap this up too. You're welcome. You're welcome, Rebecca. I want to give you a little bit of a secret before we wrap this up. And that is all your thoughts and all your feelings are not all yours. Bruce, they're not yours, not all of them. So one of them is programming, which means you think about it. You're saying that we have about 80 thoughts a day, and 80,000 thoughts a day. Sorry, we have about 80,000 thoughts a day, and 90% of them, if not more, are the same thoughts you had yesterday and the day before and the day before. So we're programmed. And just like my computer is programmed, and all of these social medias have programming, and software has programming, and businesses and workplaces and institutions have programming. We're used to being programmed. That's the life we live in the modern Western world in general. So the second secret, so just, give yourself some leeway because of that. Give yourself a lot of leeway. Okay, think about that programming. The second one is that if you're empathic, if you're psychic, if you can remote view and you're empathic, then you can easily be thinking somebody else's thought. And Bruce Lipton proved this. And if you guys really want to watch a good documentary, look up on YouTube the number one field. One field. Okay. So Bruce Lipton talks about this. They used to put these probes on the heads. They called it an ECG. And yeah, because EKG is the heart. So ECG is the brain. And they would stick all these little things all over your cradle. I actually had it done when I was a kid because I was passing out. I was just low on iron, but they want to check my brain, of course. And it was fine, by the way. I remember seeing weird things, though. I would see flashes of light like in my head. It was crazy. But anyways, so they see it. But what Bruce Lipton discovered, and somebody else invented it, was they created the same type of ECG, but it was like a helmet, and it just hovered around the head a couple of inches. It never touched the head. And they got the same information. So what he said is, this information is not coming from here. It's coming from out there. It's being broadcasted, and I am accepting that broadcast. I'm dialing in. I know I'm going to give you a hug too soon, Pamela. I'm dialing it in. Okay. So if you walk into a room, this is how you're going to know. And I'm going to end it here. If you're walking into a room, you're walking into a situation, or somebody else walks into the room, or some other situation comes into your environment, into your atmosphere, and suddenly your thoughts change, just out of nowhere, your thoughts just go, and they're not your normal thoughts, then it's not you. You're picking up on someone else. Now, if we lived in a different planet, we would go up to that person and go, "You're really craving a cheeseburger, aren't you?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, I'm fighting it." And I'm like, "Well, let's go get a smoothie together," right? But if you're all of a sudden going, "I really want a cheeseburger," and you don't even do cheeseburgers on a normal basis, then it's probably dude over there trying to talk himself out of a cheeseburger. Okay, that's a very funny, lame, loose, explain it to a 5-year-old example, but it works, doesn't it? Okay, guys, I'm out of here. Thank you, Facebook people. I guess it didn't really connect to no YouTube people, but that's okay. And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. She puts a cheeseburger there. Love you too, Pamela.